The first thing he noticed was the light, soft blues and whites, filtering through a glass ceiling high above. Then, the sounds, a low hum of machinery, the distant whoosh of something speeding by, and muffled voices speaking in languages he didn't recognize. He sat up slowly, his head throbbing, his senses overwhelmed. Where was he? The city around him stretched upward in jagged silhouettes of glowing spires, crisscrossed by shining bridges and floating vehicles. The air was dense but clean, carrying the faint scent of ozone and metal. He looked down at his clothes, simple grey pants and a fitted jacket, unremarkable yet unfamiliar. He couldn't remember putting them on. In fact, he couldn't remember anything at all. A sudden weight in his pocket caught his attention. Frowning, he reached in and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper, worn as though clutched tightly in a moment of panic. He unfolded it with trembling hands. Scrawled in jagged handwriting were 6 words: "Do not trust them. Keep running." His pulse quickened, though he didn't know why. Them. Who were them? What had happened to him? Was someone after him, or had he written the note himself? The question sent his head spinning. He glanced around, trying to appear inconspicuous. The space he was in looked like an open transit hub, with people, human and humanoid, moving purposefully across polished platforms and boarding sleek, doorless trains. Everyone seemed calm, detached, but their every movement felt deliberate. Had any of them noticed him? Was one of them watching? A flicker of motion in his peripheral vision made his stomach drop. He looked up at the nearest spire, and there it was, a holographic projection, a grainy close-up of his face. Above it flashed bold red letters in a language he didn't recognize, but beneath them came the chilling translation, Subject A16, detain immediately. His heart slammed in his chest. He didn't know who he was, but he understood one thing: he was being hunted. "Hey!" a voice barked from behind him. He turned sharply to see 2 figures heading his way, uniformed, their eyes glowing faintly beneath angular helmets. He didn't wait to find out what they wanted. The note burned in his hand as he shoved it back into his pocket, turned on his heel, and bolted. "Stop!" one of them shouted, their voices distorted by unseen technology. The platform erupted into chaos as people scattered to make way. He ran blindly, his feet slamming against the polished floor as his lungs burned. Ahead, one of the hovering trains slowed to a stop. By pure instinct, he leapt, gripping the edge of its open frame as it began to ascend again. He clung to the edge, the city unfolding below him like a glowing maze. His breath came in ragged gasps as he tried to steady himself, his mind racing. Who was he? What had he done to deserve this? The train slowed again, floating toward a landing platform. He scrambled off, darting into a narrow alley before anyone could spot him. The walls here were smooth metal, veins of light pulsing through their surfaces like arteries. His surroundings felt alien, oppressive. That single message echoed in his head: do not trust them. But who was them? Panting, he leaned against the alley wall, his hands trembling. The only clue he had beyond the note was a small tattoo on the inside of his wrist, a simple black triangle with a single dot at its center. He stared at it, willing it to unlock a memory, but nothing came. Suddenly, a shadow fell over him. He looked up to see a woman standing at the mouth of the alley, her face obscured by a reflective visor. Her voice was low and even when she spoke. "You're not supposed to be here." Before he could answer, she tossed something his way, a translucent earpiece lit by faint circuitry. He caught it instinctively, looking at her in confusion. "Put it on," she said firmly. "Quickly, before they find you." "Who are you?" His voice cracked, strained, desperate. Her visor tilted slightly, as if she were studying him. Then she said something that sent a chill down his spine. "I'm the only person you can trust, but you need to move now." He hesitated. Should he believe her, or the note burning a hole in his pocket? He didn't know. But as shouts echoed in the distance, growing louder, he made his choice.